The one thing before we start, I wanted to say that Isaiah 56, Dave had a word, and look up Isaiah 56, but it's crazy. It says that Israel's watchmen are like dogs that don't bark. And I think we're making some of these videos to be the dog that barks. You know, Rudy's it's like seeing things. It's like, guys, this is happening. My wife's been seeing stuff for the last 4 years, saying, guys, something's not kosher. Something's going on. And God's been speaking to me through dreams for a long time. And I've been the dog that doesn't bark. I just kind of like, well, I hope that doesn't happen. And it's time to bark and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're sensing. What I think, what we think you should do, come together as families, friends and families that you trust, you love, and learn how to grow in community, because that's might be all that we have coming soon.
Yeah. And that's what MJ, because I feel like you're you're watching and seeing, and you get a lot of dreams. You actually, I think, get them in a different way than I do.
I get a lot, but I think I pay attention to what other people that are much more prophetic than I listen to what they're saying.
That's true, but I do think you're also prophetic more than you know. But anyways, you talk a lot about the what's that going to look like in the end? But then there's also what you're talking about, the immediate preparation, which I feel like those two things, the preparation now, we are late to the game. The church is late. I'm late. Everybody, there might be some people that aren't late, but I think definitely maybe there's some churches that aren't late to it.
So let's talk about why we feel like we're late. So we've talked about, in the last one, we talked about the storm. Yeah, everybody's prophetic words about storm. Now we want to talk about these 911 words that everybody's been getting for the last 4 years. Like when I say 4 years, it's like constantly everybody's
7,
seeing,
10,
9/11. Everybody keeps hearing 9/11, like 911, 911, So I thought, Rudy, if you want to tell us what you've been seeing, and then we can kind of go back, ping pong back and forth.
So this one is kind of a heavy for me, more than anything else. It's the heaviest thing because of the way God spoke it. This was the first time I'd ever had a vision, and in my vision, I could.
When?
This was around 6 months ago.
Okay.
I have everything recorded and everything transcribed.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it helps me process.
Yeah.
To say it out loud, record it, listen to it, and then transcribe it helps me process it. So about 6 months ago, I had a vision, and in the vision, God spoke to me in the way He knew I would understand, an Excel spreadsheet. So what I saw was, in this one sheet, there's 3 different tables. There's one, a second one next to it, and a third one underneath both of them. And they were all labeled. They were color-coded, and the colors were fluctuating a little bit. So the first one was titled, Low Likelihood of a Tactical Nuclear Strike. The one next to it was a high likelihood of a tactical nuclear strike. And the one beneath it was labeled Current Situation. The current situation and high likelihood of a tactical nuclear strike were identical.
Oh, gosh.
Same color.
Same color, and the colors were shifting slowly, identically. Both tables were shifting.
Essentially, these are two the same thing.
Yeah, they were the same thing.
These are the same.
They were the same thing.
What? Say them again?
It was a high likelihood of a tactical nuclear strike, low likelihood, and current situation.
So current situation and high
were the same, and they were changing slowly, exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. So they were always identical.
Okay.
So I thought that was a pretty heavy, and of course I'm not going to share that because I would be the crazy guy in the room. So about 2 days later, I have another vision, and this time,
where are you when you have these visions?
I'm in bed and I can't sleep.
Yeah.
It's like 2-3 in the morning, not sleeping. My mind's going everywhere. And I have an open vision. And in this vision, there's an angel in front of me. And he said, you and Emily are going to set up or develop an evacuation plan. You have to develop an evacuation plan. And then once you finalize it, you will have to execute it 3 days later. After you finalize it, you will execute it 3 days later. So I asked the question, are my family and I going to be okay here? And he said, it's not about you and your nuclear family. It's about your extended family in Houston. They will need a place to flee to, and you can go to your in-laws' house in Midland, Texas. I said, okay. That was the end of it. So along those lines, I hadn't put the puzzle pieces together, but about a month before that happened, I had a really, really vivid dream that Emily and I were walking down a sidewalk. There's a group of people walking around us, and I could see up in the sky a bright light. And I looked at the people behind me and I said, do you see that? And they said, of course we see that. That's the sun. I said, it cannot be the sun. What time is it? And they said, it's 10 p.m. I said, if it's 10 p.m., the sun is not out. And I looked at them and I said, where are you from? And they said, we're from Sri Lanka. And I said, great, call your parents right now. So they dialed their parents and asked them. I said, ask your parents if they can see the sun on the other side of the planet. It is there at 10 a.m. Called them and they said, yes, they can see the sun. And I said, then that's not the sun. That's a nuclear bomb going off. So we rushed home and then we went to gather supplies because of this nuclear incident. This is a dream that I had before the visions. And then when I'm processing with my wife on what is it that we do to get prepared, because we were talking only a couple weeks ago, what is it that we have to do?
In the natural. You were talking.
In the natural, we were talking about 2 weeks ago. And then she said, have you ever had to prepare in any of your dreams? And I said, yes, with a nuclear bomb, I had to prepare. And she said, well, that's when we need to prepare then. We're going to be given advance notice, 3 days advance notice, so we can get ready and then we can prepare. Because I was ready 2 weeks ago to say, I'm going to go to Sam's Club and go shopping, whatever. But that wasn't what the Lord was leading. It was something is about to hit September, October. But it was actually 18 months from now that the big event is going to hit. Like Jimmy called it, the event that draws the worldwide body of Christ to storm the gates of hell, to see the lost come to the kingdom and see his kingdom come. I believe that's the nuclear bomb, literally a nuclear bomb, but also a time where we have to have practical preparations.
Yes.
And can you tell about the other dream you had? The reason why you think you'll know 3 to 18 months ahead of when it happens?
Yeah, that was a real interesting one.
When did you have that dream?
And this was in the last 3 months.
Okay.
I was Todd. Well, you can bleep it out. Todd Meek makes frequent appearances in my dreams because he's humility in my dreams, and that's something God is trying to beat into me, humility. But in my dream, we were in Dallas. We were sitting in rubble. It had been devastated. It looked like a scene from that old Independence Day movie. It was just completely.
So you had a dream you were in Dallas.
And it was decimated.
Fair enough.
We were sitting in rubble.
Were you in downtown?
Yeah. We were sitting in rubble. But the presence of God was so thick, so rich. It was just like, who cares? God is here. God is here, and it is a thick, thick presence. And Lexia came up to me in the dream and said, you knew this was coming, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. And she said, how far in advance can you see? I said, 3 to 18 months. That's my window, between 3 and 18 months. And she said, well, in the future, we should get together. And it's funny, I'm laughing now because that's what we're doing. We should get together, compare notes, so we'll be prepared for when things are about to hit. I said, that's a great idea. It was no heavy. It was no blame. It was nothing like we should have done this versus the other because God's presence was so thick. But for the future, we probably should start getting together, compare notes because we all see in part, prophesy in part, and do what we need to do to get the bigger church ready. And because practically, this is what I feel, getting together, sharing our experiences, understanding what God is saying will practically save lives.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you had another dream.
And rescue the lost.
Yes.
Rescue people from hell. Rescue people from hell they're experiencing on earth through trafficking, through being oppressed.
Yeah.
Rescue people who don't know Jesus, like 911 emergency call, because he is able
Yeah.
to come and rescue. And I love that what you said, the presence of God was so thick, and it reminded me, Bob Jones was sharing on one of his prophecies. I don't watch him a lot, but this morning I was just checking in with some things from the past, and he said the thing that will be felt is the abiding glory. The glory of God, the presence of God is coming to abide. And we can access that now, but it's that place where you were in the midst of a disaster and you felt the presence of God, like overwhelmingly. And I'm like, yes, Jesus, hope. We are the only ones, believers are the only ones, I've said it before, who can run into the face of the hopeless situation and still have hope and give and release hope, make things new, because we have a living hope that cannot fail.
Yeah, that's good.
The other dream you had about your wife walking down the hall.
Oh,
the terrifying
yeah,
dream.
that one was very unique. It was a really, really, really short dream, and I was getting the dream interpreted for me as I was having the dream.
In the dream. Dream on a dream.
Yeah, so in the dream, it's like I could see from above, and I could see my house, and I could see through the roof, through the ceiling.
Would you like to tell everybody where you live?
Yeah, my social security number is. So
Wait a minute, get a pen.
I could see my wife walking down the hall. And the voice says, "Can you see your wife?" And I said, "Yes." And she's walking down. There's 2 doors to our bedroom. And in the dream, I was on the bed in our bedroom. And I could see her walking down the hall. And the voice says, "Can you see her walking down the hall?" I said, "Yes." And then she turns right and into our doorway. And the voice says, "Can you see her walking towards the door?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Can you see her reaching for the doorknob?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you know when she's going to enter the room?" I said, "Yes." "Do you know what direction she's coming from?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Well, in the same way you can see her when she's going to enter the room and the direction she's coming from, in the same way you'll see the storm."
Specifics.
And I was like, "Okay, got it." And that was the end. And it reminded me a lot afterwards, the time that we all got together at David's house, and Kurt said, "A storm you can see. You can see where it is, you can see where it's coming from, and you can see when it's going to hit."
Right.
And it reminded me so much of that. But I think you're right, Julie. There's some nuance to some specificity.
Yeah. Because he said, "Do you see her doing this?"
Yeah.
And then she's doing this.
Yeah.
And do you see this? It's very specific.
Right.
And he's being very specific with you in some ways.
Yes.
More
Yes.
than he has in the past. But I think you are a picture also of the body. And he's wanting to show us. He's
Yes.
wanting to be specific. He's wanting to show us so we can prepare, so we can pray, so we can bring his will on earth as it is in heaven. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do think 6 months, I mean, you're like, God's like waking you up, like sounding the alarm in your spirit, and now
Right.
you're sounding it to others. And I think that's happening to a lot of people. Like
Yes.
you said in the last, if anybody on this who's listening to this, who happens to listen to this, please share if you're feeling anything similar or dreams. Please share in the comments what you're feeling.
Well, do you want me to share for a minute?
Yes, absolutely. Please
With
do.
dreams. Do we got time on? Okay, where to start? So, I'll share my.
Anyways, the one you had 2 nights ago was just
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I have. So, okay. So here's the dream, and I'll try to say dream and then say what's happening, dream and then say what's happening, so it doesn't get like, wait, is this happening in reality? But these are the dreams. Okay, let's say I'll keep them on my hand. First dream. the very first dream I ever had, actually, heard a loud noise, and I woke up in a dream. I was still sleeping, but I was in a dream waking up, and I saw white smoke everywhere. And
First dream you had about something impending, or first?
yeah, the crazy apocalyptic dream. And I got up and I was moving my hand through the smoke, and I realized I was at the end of time, like I was in the apocalypse. Like, this is not good.
End of the age.
End of the age. I was terrified, heart pounding. I knew my wife was there, but she wasn't my wife at the time. And there was a bunch of other people. We couldn't find each other, and we were kind of groping around in the smoke. And I saw this big rock, and I walked up on the rock, and a wind blew, and it started to blow all the smoke out of the way. And I don't know where it was, but as far as the eye could see was completely destroyed. There was nothing left, just smoke. So that was the first apocalyptic dream I ever had. And I knew it was like Revelation had begun. Like the tribulation had started. Like there was nothing around. Fast forward probably a couple of months later, year later. This is in 2001, I guess. This would be around 2001, guys. So, second dream. I am sitting at the lake with my wife and his friend. I guess.
You keep saying my wife.
With you.
Yeah,
I was sitting with you,
husband.
but
I
you
don't
weren't
want
my
them to
wife
think
at the
I'm
time.
touching you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm your wife.
I was with you and my friend and his soon-to-be wife, and we're all eating at a picnic table, like a, what do they call them, pagoda kind of thing, and a pavilion. Pagoda. Yeah, probably wasn't there. I was at what is it called again?
Pergola.
Pavilion.
I was at a little pavilion, and guys, so this is before flat screen TVs, but there was a TV mounted on the what's it called again? Pavilion. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I can dream it, can't talk about it. So this TV is hanging on the wall. This is 20 years ago. In this dream, we're sitting there eating, and we're laughing and having a good time. I can see the lake behind everybody, and the TV clicks on. And as it clicks on, it's like CNN, and they're saying, "This just in, the entire world has declared war on Russia." And then, just like in Indiana Jones, how it shows the airplane with the red line, it's like dun dun dun, dun dun dun, going. Well, that's what America had. This giant was a giant ship. America was the biggest ship, and it said America on the ship, and the little red line was following the ship towards Russia. And then I saw Spain and like Morocco and India and Korea and China and everybody else. All their little ships were just all making red lines, and all of them were pointing towards Russia. And America was in the lead. America was taking the charge. And it clicks back on to the reporter as I'm watching the ships, and the reporter goes, this, I can't believe this just happened. This is terrible. She's like, it was a trap. She said, it was a trap. And she's like, it was to get America into the water. And all the nations are now converging on America. And I goes back to the Indiana Jones picture, and I see America's ship like this, and all the red arrows had now surrounded America, and all of the nations were closing in on America. And it goes back to the news reporter and says, this is it. This is the end. This is the end. They've just launched. And the TV like shorts out, like something had happened, and we're all looking into the sky waiting for a missile to hit. So that was the second dream I had, and that was in 2001. So, okay, so going back to...
And then I want to hear that Houston dream.
I don't have a Houston dream. It was just...
Is it Houston?
Your family coming from Houston.
My family. It was the two visions.
Because
And because they need to?
Yes,
Tell me
they need to.
that.
They need to.
I have family in Houston. So
So,
It was
the-
downtown.
it-
Where do they live in Houston?
Anywhere from Katy to Channelview to downtown, they're all spread out.
Okay.
So can't help there.
So going back to that dream, your dream, it was you saw something hitting Houston.
It was a vision where the angel said I had to prepare, make an evacuation plan, and get out to Midland where I was going to go to my in-laws' house. And I said, "Are my family going to be okay? Your house and your family in Waco are fine, but your family in Houston need a place to flee to,
Okay.
which is my house. I need to open up my house and every possible square foot I have available. So that means I have to vacate because I do have another place I can go. I can go to my in-laws' house."
And you see that happening. Was there a sense of a timing on that one?
No, I based on everything else, I'm just putting puzzle pieces together. I'm not saying I'm right.
I'm not. Yeah, I just want to know what you think.
I believe I had a dream
Okay.
that we were in Midland and Emily hands me a cupcake for my birthday and she says, "Sorry, this is the best I could do for your birthday. You know the times we live in."
Right. And that
When was that dream?
That was about 6-7 months ago.
When is your birthday?
March. So I look at March 2025.
And you're thinking you guys will go to Midland and live with your in-laws, and your family will live here.
Yes.
which hits my friend who had a dream, who 3 weeks ago came to me, said the same thing. He saw a storm. He opened up his front door, saw a giant storm coming, and he heard an old man came up to him and said, "You're going to have to flee to West Texas. There will be a hole in the ground, like no, not a
Like a
cave,
crater?
like a storage unit kind of thing in the ground, like a
Underground
bomb shelter or
underground
a
bunker.
bunker." So he goes to West Texas in the dream to avoid the storm. When he gets there, the old man's standing there and says, "You're going to have to go down in there." And he was like, "I don't want to go down there. There's like rats and he's like bugs that were crawling all over." And the guy said, "You'll have to be there for 1.5 years, but for the first 6 months, you're just going to have to push boxes." And that was the dream. So guys, I think something's coming. I really do think something's coming. You're, in your dream, you're going to Midland, Texas, but we do think there's going to be pockets of Goshens all over the place.
Yes.
What you can do, what
And
we need to
prepare to-
do, is
and
people
people
need
need-
to start praying about, God, where do I need to be in this season with everything boiling? Where do I need to be? Who do I need to be with? How can I link arms so that I'm not alone when things hit the fan? With these apocalyptic dreams about bombs going off, I have a couple of dreams that I would like to share. One is my friend's dream, who my son and one of my best friends had the same dream on the same night, and we talked about it the same day by accident. So I wake up that morning. This was within the last 9 months. And Cannon had a dream that he woke up, went down the road by our house, and as far as the eye could see, everything was on fire. Everything was burning. And he said, there wasn't anything that wasn't on fire. Houses were on fire. Banks were on fire. People running down the road screaming. And there was a strange flag that was flying on every lamppost, on every telephone pole. As far as the eye could see, there was a big red flag. Now, my son he's younger, but he doesn't know the
symbols on the flag.
the symbols of the flag. He doesn't know the USSR flag, but he said, "Dad, what is that flag that has the Grim Reaper's sickle on it and a hammer on it?" And he said, that was on the flag. And he said, and the earth was in the middle of the flag, and on top of the earth was the Masonic
The dollar bill.
yeah.
The dollar bill eye.
No, they're Masons.
The compass.
Yeah, the compass. He said it was flying on everything, and everything was on fire. Fast forward to lunch that day. I'm sitting at Burger King. Hello, Burger King. And My friend walks in. He goes, guys, I had the weirdest dream. He said, in the dream, my kids start yelling, wake up. And there's a fire. And he looked up and he's like, there's a fire where? The house is normal. And he runs outside and everything's burning. His house had some surface fire on it. Like he knew that it was going to die out soon. His house was going to be okay. But everything else was on fire. So he jumps in his truck and he's driving down and he sees the courthouse on fire and literally everything's burning. So that happened the same night. We talked about it on the same day, right? So fast forward a couple of months later to this summer. My friend pulls me aside. His name's Dave. And he goes, bro, I had a dream that there was this awful bomb about to go off. And everybody had to run to a pool and get underwater in order to be saved from the fire. So he's like, this bomb went off. No one was listening. They take a beeline. They go underwater. He's like, I'm holding my breath. This is where that breath word with your friend seeing the storm coming. He's holding his breath underwater, watching the fire burn everything above. And just when he's about to run out of air, the fire subsides. He comes up and him and his family are okay. Well, a couple of days later, me and Cannon are at Hawaiian Falls swimming. He goes, Daddy, this reminds me of a dream I had this week. I was like, whenever Cannon says he has a dream, I'm like, proceed cautiously, like it's going to be crazy. Cannon goes, I had a dream that we were at Hawaiian Falls and a fire bomb is what he called it, was going off. And we had to make it to the wave pool and get underwater and hold our breaths while the fire burned.
You were at Hawaiian Falls, Maui.
Holy smokes. Hawaiian Falls.
Maui.
Hawaii fell.
And it was a firebomb.
It was a firebomb. It's a firebomb. That's weird. That's weird. It's okay. So we got the fire. We're getting these words out late.
There were guys that jumped in the water. Yes.
Yeah.
A bunch of people got saved because
They jumped in the water. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was Cannon's
Your dream
drum.
about Florida was the same one, the sand,
The sand dream.
which you have not
the
shared.
drought. So those are the fire dreams going on.
That's crazy.
Let me look real quick. This is a crazy dream, guys. If you can, do we have time on that? Does
That's
you
I don't think that's it.
you think it's off already?
Audio, yeah.
Okay, great.
So Maui, gosh, it's insane.
Hawaiian Falls. Hawaii.
My favorite psalm, strange one, Psalm 18, but it is David dying. The cords of death entangled me, and he goes on and on about 4 or 5 verses, and then there's a picture where everything shakes violently, and the reason it's shaking is because God got his hands and he's pulling apart the heavens and he's stepping down
Wow.
to rescue David. It's a real violent shaking, the whole thing,
That's beautiful.
and it's for the sake of David.
It's for the sake of David.
It's
The
worth.
root.
Yeah, that's why he's shaking everything.
I had a word for a specific church, but I think it's for the church, that he's pruning to the root of Jesse.
Wow.
He's going to prune. And why? He said because they're
Smells
calling
good.
out for
Oh, that smells
revival.
so good. Sorry.
He's pruning to get to the root of Jesse
Yeah.
so that we can be restored to Christ, like that rescue unto Jesus. That,
Praise God.
yeah. So if you were given an opportunity to share and the church was awake, what would you say? Would you say what the Lord has been saying to you and Emily, evacuation plan? Because to me, you're saying you're going to prepare those 3 days, or 18 months. But my thing is, the preparation is to go home and get what you've already prepared.
Yeah.
In my mind, prepare now, and then you will go have those 3 days to get out.
So when I'll answer it this way. When I prayed about the evacuation words, God gave me the phrase. I said, so I was praying for each step, including my family that will use my house. So what about them? And they said, and the Lord said, they can make it for 3 weeks or 20 years. If in the 3-week period of time, they are generous to people all around them that need the generosity, it will bless them for the next 20 years.
That's a great word.
If
At some
they're-
point, we gotta put that
Which
on
is the
paper.
word I heard when we wait on the Lord about prepare. I heard be generous.
Yes.
That's on my notes from when we talked one time. This is
Yes.
be generous when we were talking about how to prepare.
In the time where you're saying, look, I got enough for me and my family, if you're only looking at you and your family, you've already lost.
Yeah, but now's a good time to prepare so you can
Yes.
look to others
Yes.
too. So I don't know. I just wanted to tell you when you guys said, "Well, that's when we'll prepare," and I'm like, I think you need to prepare
Oh,
so
yeah.
you can prepare. I know you
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
I know you are,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying for Emily, like it's like you got to prepare now so you can prepare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of because that's where we feel way behind.
So that's actually what I'm doing now in the house and different things. I'm preparing for people to come in.
And if you want to text us anything you're doing, like if there's things you're
You
buying,
think we should do?
yeah,
Yeah, I
because
think
we kind of do that with each other where we're like, hey, think about this.
I think the key for us to make it long haul is generosity. I think when we're hurting and we're saying we don't know where the next meal is going to come from, if I give my meals away, there's power in that.
Yes,
There's-
even in the face of shaking and crisis,
Yes.
living like we would live normally, because we would do that in a time of peace. Be like, oh yeah,
Yes.
we'll give that away because God will provide. But when
Yes.
it seems like there's nothing, continuing to walk in kingdom.
Yes. It's good. It's exponential. It's exponential.
Multiplication, that's his favorite math.
Yeah.
Jesus
All right,
is.
guys. Blessings.
brother.
Love you, dude.
Thank you, Rudy, for sharing.